If you were able to walk into a room, confident that you would be well received, seen, heard, and appreciated by others, and all it took was a few changes in how you navigate your everyday relationships, would you be willing to make those changes? It is possible to be both fully authentic and to experience the best relationships of your life. Now, here is the host of Navigating Complicated Relationships with behavior expert Michaela Gaffen.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Navigating Complicated Relationships. I'm your host, Michaela Gaffen, and I am here today with Nicole Banks, who is life coach. I'm referring to her as Midlife Thrive Maven because I kind of like the word Maven. And I'm just going to get into the show notes before I introduce Nicole fully, or even have Nicole introduce herself. I think that might be more fun. So, do you wonder why your relationships become complicated? There's a theme. Just when you thought you were on the right track, have you ever felt that your relationships reflect how you feel about yourself in some way? Hint, that was a spoiler. If you haven't considered where your role and responsibility lies in your relationships, now might be the perfect time for you to explore the possibilities. I'm here today with Nicole Banks, as I mentioned, life coach and midlife thrive maven. And together we're going to discuss such questions as, why is it crucial for individuals to establish a positive relationship with themselves before seeking meaningful connections with others, rather than after or even through? How many people try and build the relationship and, get the self-confidence and the self-appreciation through that relationship? There'll be more. There's a lot more in this conversation to come. So right now, I would love for you, Nicole, to tell us a bit about you and how you got into what you do.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, Michaela. I am thrilled to be here. I am a life coach, and how I became a life coach is I became the coach that I needed when I was 40. I just really found myself, everybody's throwing the word stuck around in life today, but it really was just me being on this hamster wheel of life that I could not get off of. And it wasn't until, again, we're going to have this conversation, that I put myself first in my relationships, that I was able to truly connect with everybody else around me. So it brought out clarity, it brought out positivity, it removed all the toxic. And I am thrilled and honored to work with women that were like me. They just could not seem to move the needle forward or back. They literally just were treading water. So a little bit more about me is I recently moved from Washington State to Arizona. So going from the Pacific Northwest, rain and dark cloudy sky, to the Arizona sun is fabulous, and I love it. I'm also a grandmother. I have one grandson who's 3.5 years old, who lives in the desert as well. And that's mainly the pull from, from Washington to relocate. So yeah, I just enjoy Mother Nature. And I have a little puppy that's a 1-year-old. She's a mini Australian Shepherd, and lots of golf, lots of happy hours, and just living life.
Very cool. And I have to say, if you're listening to this and not watching, Nicole does not look like anybody's idea of a grandmother. However, I have it on her authority that this is the fact. So we'll just take that.
Forever 39.
In your experience, Nicole, why would you say it's crucial for individuals to establish that positive relationship, as I mentioned in the introduction, before, I think that's really key, before they seek a meaningful, lasting connection with other people? Why would you say that's so important?
Well, I feel like people are robbing themselves of true happiness if they are not connected with themselves first and bring in that positivity. Now, listen, I feel like some people are like, oh, you're so positive, Polly, you don't have to be positive all the time. You don't have to be positive all the time. But if you can take something negative, for an example, it was a bad morning, didn't make it a bad day, right? Or a bad traffic didn't make it a bad afternoon, right? Just
Right.
spinning it just a little bit, you really will see life differently. And if you put yourself first in that relationship and have that positive relationship with you, it is the ripple effect. And I'm addicted to the ripple effect, because then it just overflows into any relationship you really are bringing on into your life, right? Whether that's with a partner, a neighbor, a coworker. I mean, it just really is a ripple effect that it starts with you before you can do anything else.
Definitely. I'm so on board with that. It's something I say in human design all the time to people is, look, if your cup is full of no, or in this case, a poor relationship with yourself, you have no room for yes. You can't build on a cup full of no. You really have to get yourself sorted first. So I'm 100% with you on that one. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and
So,
the women I work with, they usually come in serving everyone else. And listen,
right.
as a life coach, that's exactly what I do. I serve other people, and that's what I love to do. I love to give. But reality is that if I don't tend to my own needs first, like my morning routine, my meditation, my, personal development, whatever that looks like, if I don't tend to myself first, then my game is not on, and I'm not really helping or serving anyone else, right? So I feel like the women I help come in with that hamster wheel mentality, and as soon as we remove them and put them in front of the mirror, like literally take them off the hamster wheel and make them stand still in front of the mirror and just look at themselves and say, what do I like or love about myself? And
Yeah.
usually
And
this
taking some time for yourself. You just reminded me of a client that I worked with who worked with them with the child's benefit to start off with. And when we'd got the child in a good space and everything was going well, the mom literally looked at me one day and said, I have all this time now and I realize I'm a mess. Like, what can I do? Do you help people with weight loss? Like she was looking for, how do I look after me now? But it was the
Yeah.
look of surprise on her face that really landed with me, that she just hadn't realized she'd forgotten herself, like completely forgotten to look after her. And she didn't know what to do now. I mean,
Yeah.
that's wow. That's quite
Yeah.
the thing.
And, again, what we do is we look at the mirror, and typically our mind goes to, oh, I've got gray roots. Oh, look at my crow's feet. Do you see that I need to whiten my teeth? Oh, what's going on with my flabby arms? We literally will go down from head to toe and nitpick of the outer appearance. And realistically speaking, when we talk about being positive to ourselves, it really just starts in the mindset, right? So you get an opportunity to really look at yourself in the mirror. All of that on the outside really can be healed or modified, right, in the right direction to positivity if you start with the mindset first.
Yeah, and that leads us very nicely to self-perception, because self-perception really impacts the dynamics of your relationship with families, friends, and romantic partners. So what would you say about that in your experience for yourself or with your clients, either way, or both?
Yeah, I think we do a lot of comparison. I think this is twofold. I think we do a lot of comparison, in society, whether we see it on social media or we are seeing it on TV, right? Or maybe in our neighborhood, or maybe our PTAs, or whatever, right? Our network or social gatherings. We do a lot of comparison. I don't look like that at that age. Wow. I mean, you even mentioned in the beginning, she doesn't look like the grandmother, right? But I will be 55 in June.
I did.
You did.
Good call. You got me.
What I'm saying is that I'm going to be 55 in June, and I feel like I'm forever 39. I've got some wrinkles and some rolls that I'm sure everybody else can relate with. But the point being is just that when we think of our self perspective, we have to go back to, where did it start? And sometimes that's generational. I'm a Gen Xer. You and I've had this conversation before where I had to come to my own conclusion that maybe this is how I apply my makeup, or maybe this is how I, my manners should be, or my presence should be. But I also think of too, that when we look at ourselves in the mirror, right, we are nitpicking, we're doing that. So how do you overcome that, or how do you look past that? Again, it starts with challenging our thoughts. And sometimes it could be just, I posted something the other day on my social media that I'm a big fan of the Yet Club, right? So, hashtag Yet Club. And basically, I am working on myself, right? Or I may not be as thin as I want to be yet, or I may not be as flexible as I want to be yet, right? Because I'm a work in progress. And again, if I don't take care of myself first, then I'm not able to serve my clients. But one of the things that we do, the very first thing is self-awareness. We have to realize what our self-negative talk sounds like, or just our self-talk sounds like. Sometimes it's negative, sometimes it's not. The second thing is being able to challenge those thoughts. And I think that's where the difficulty lies with a lot of people.
Especially when it's unconscious, like my comment in the beginning, I'm just looking at you and thinking, but you look amazing. And, and so that's all I have to work with, to be fair, is what I can see right now.
Yeah, of course.
But I mean, we've had conversations before, and that's been a lot of fun and a lot of conversation about Gen X and all the issues that come with that raising yourself kind of thing. And I think that is a big part of the clients that either of us work with, is that they're still winging it. We're really winging it, and self-awareness and self-perception and those kind of things really depend on who you hung out with, and to a degree, sort of how much work you've done on yourself since, and what your sources were. It's all very hit and miss for us. And that's a rich place to work with, because there's a lot of room, right?
Right.
There's a lot of things that we can do. So
right.
Do you have some strategies that you could share, that or exercises for individuals to use where they can enhance their self-awareness?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
even build a positive self-relationship, which would be, hey, hashtag Gen X goals.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. I always do the awareness. So what we do is the first thing we do is we listen to our self-talk, because one of the things we do is it's white noise, because we've heard it over and over and over again. So just for an example, someone wants to lose weight and they say, oh, I should try this. No, I've tried so many things. I'm just going to be fat for the rest of my life. And it doesn't even have to be that. It literally could be, wow, I'm just going to be unhealthy for the rest of my life, right? Or I'm just going to be a big girl for the rest of my life. But again, it's the self-awareness, being able to listen to what you're really saying to yourself. So I always advise the awareness. I'm not asking you in the first week or two to change anything. I just want you to listen to how often you say these things to you, these negative things to you. One of the other things that we always listen for is the word sorry. How many times we say sorry as opposed to saying, thank you for your patience if you're running late, or thank you for your kindness, or, using the words thank you in replace of the word sorry is so empowering, and people will really notice. They're like, wow, that was, you're welcome.
It makes all the difference to how somebody responds to you, doesn't it? I have just finished working with a client who would start everything she said with sorry, and there'd be this long preamble as to why she was sorry about things. And I'm like, no, let's turn that around. And so she would have to do a text and then erase it and do another one. But she said, oh, suddenly people are a lot more patient with me. And I'm like, absolutely. Oh, that's the beginning. We have a lot to do with this one. But she said sorry so many times, I would need a clicker to keep up. It was amazing.
So the first tip I have is true awareness, just being aware of your self-talk.
That is fantastic. And I'm going to hold you right there, because we have a break coming up already. It's going so fast. Like, I hope we get through everything we want to say. You are listening to Navigating Complicated Relationships with me, Michaela Gaffen Stone, and Nicole Banks, life coach and midlife thrive maven. Don't go away. Do make some notes as you go along. And when we come back, Nicole will tell you how you can get a hold of her, how you can find her, and then we'll get back into some more questions. All right, don't go away.
What if your relationships could be a source of delight instead of a source of struggle? In a world where human interactions are anything but straightforward, tuning in to Navigating Complicated Relationships with behavior expert Michaela Gaffen Stone will offer you insights, tools, and a whole new level of understanding for you to use right now. Listen for Navigating Complicated Relationships with Michaela Gaffen Stone, Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Mountain, 9 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email become a host at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is Navigating Complicated Relationships with Michaela Gaffen Stone. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. You can also send an email to mickey@gaffenstone.com. Now back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm so glad you're still here. You are listening to me, Michaela Gaffen Stone, and my website is gaffenstone.com. Go check it out. Get your human design chart done there if you haven't done it already. And if you haven't, where have you been? Come on, get in there. I have all sorts of new things coming up, but today we're all about Nicole Banks, and she is going to tell you where and how you can find her. And this podcast is all about why you want to do that. So, Nicole.
Well, you can go to my website as well. It's NicoleBanks.com. Of course, I'm spelling my name with an H. So it's Nicole, Nichole, Banks with an S.com. I also have something that you can download complimentary, and that's 5 steps to clarity in life and or career for women over 40. More than happy to share those amazing tips for you if you feel that you are a little muddled in decision making.
That's amazing. And I love those kind of tools because it can just help you to get a little focus. Sometimes, particularly if you're just discovering that you have all this negative self-talk and you haven't really been aware of it, you're just in it, then it can be, the first step is like, well, what do I do with this? Where's my clarity? Right. So
Yes.
those kind of tools are fabulous to have.
Yeah.
So were you going to go on to some more strategies or exercises? Because we
Absolutely.
only got time for one before the break, and I want to hear the rest. Let's go.
So the first one is self-awareness, is just really taking the time to really be able to listen to your self-talk. Okay. So we've kind of covered that. All right. And I'm not asking you to fix it or change it or tweak it. Just be aware of it. Right. The next thing. Go ahead.
Do you use journaling for that?
So that leads me into the next thing.
Okay.
So the next strategy is to journal it, right? So how often you're saying, I'm sorry, how often you're talking down to yourself, how often you have self-doubt, and being able to journal. Now, one of the things that I know for sure is a lot of people don't like to journal. Oh, I don't want to write. It cramps my hand. I don't have time, whatever. However, you need to find a way to express. So I say journaling, AKA expressing, right? Whether that's voice notes, whether everybody's walking around with a smartphone these days, everybody's got a notepad, right? And there are no excuses for not to be able. If you can text, you can journal. All right. Let me say that. But I also use voice notes. So I've listened to myself record, my thought, and then I'll go through a thought process. But the reality is to let it out and then glance at it to be, again, aware. And then what you're going to do is you're going to challenge them, challenge those negative thoughts. Where did I hear that? And if it was from someone in your past, like an ex-husband, a narcissist neighbor, whatever, a relative, an in-law, whatever the case may be, a gym teacher, I don't care. I mean, there's just a million people that can tell you negative things and they stick with you, right? So the idea would be is to challenge that. What I'm saying is this: the challenge has to be, what is this source to me today?
Oh, say that one more again. That's so
The challenge, when you're challenging a self-negative thought, the challenge has to be, what is this source to me today? Mic drop. So if you are still listening to the voice of your ex-husband, still listening to the voice of, your grandmother, you have to ask yourself, what are they to me today? Because realistically speaking, the next phase would be is forgiveness. And I am going to put it towards us. I want to forgive myself, my inner child, my younger self, my younger adult, for being naive, for not being able to, I always have a voice, but not being able to raise my voice to say, wow, I need help. Wow, that was rude of you to say. I have a boundary. Here's what it looks like. So self-forgiveness for ourselves first, and then being able to just not dwell on it, but just being able to say, I can forgive my ex-husband for being so rude or challenging in my life. It's not something you would actually call them on or do anything, but one of the tips that I use with my clients is to write the letter to that person and let it all out. Because I always use the analogy of someone carrying this extra weight. And it's like carrying, let's put this visually. It's like carrying 20 pounds of potatoes on each shoulder, one on the right, one on the left. Okay. And then all of a sudden we open up the bag. When we open up the bag, I say the opening of the bag of potatoes is awareness. So that's the first stop. Right? We open up the bag. That's the awareness. That's the self-talk. I'm challenging it. And then as we continue to let go of a potato, our weight gets lighter and lighter, and our bodies, I mean, literally, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, if need be, are lifted higher. You're walking around going, wow, why do I feel so good?
Right. I love that. And I think it, along with, to keep with the potato metaphor, if you can actually look at that potato as you're letting it go and say, oh, hey, that wasn't actually a heavy load I had to carry. It's just a potato, and you put it down. If you're looking at things that people have said and done that caused you pain as a child, and you took it to mean something about you, because sometimes it's possible to look at that situation, not from a case of, oh, how awful was that? And look what you did and look what you said, but more, wow, where were they coming from that was the best they could offer?
Yes.
Because sometimes that shift in perspective, you can make the person you're thinking of a little more human and a little less monster. And that helps in the putting down. It doesn't alter that things were said and things were done. It just alters your connection to it. It wasn't about me, actually, it was their problem. And putting it down, and that's awesome.
I totally agree. I have a client that I'm working with right now, and we work through some forgiveness. And her story is simply this, that she has an older sister that was 9 years older than her that had a mental breakdown when my client was 8 years old. And the older sister that had the mental breakdown was in the mental hospital for almost 4 months. And my client had to forgive not only herself for not being able to say, hey, I'm actually scared to go to this clinic every night to visit my sister. I'm uneasy, right? But also her parents. And the reason for being is because you really think about it, and we put that in there. Her perspective is, my parents should have coddled me and said, hey, it's going to be okay. But what they actually were doing in the time is the best that they knew how.
Right. because they have their lens. And I firmly believe that people don't wake up in the morning and say, you know what, I'm going to do some really bad things today and I'm going to make some bad decisions.
Right.
I have to go with that people
Right.
don't start that way. So
Right.
the assumption then is that's the best they could do for whatever reason from the space they were in. And I think if you can give people that grace and just say, okay, wow, that must have been a thing. Again, it's not discounting anything that happened. It's just lessening that connection. It's not feeding the connection. So you can put that sack of potatoes down and just say, hey, potato.
You're a potato. I'm making
I'm
soup
not
out
going
of you
with that.
now.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
And I
just not
think,
going to
and
carry you anymore.
Yeah, and I think that's truly just the blessing in disguise when we really think about it. Because a lot of times, again, human design, human nature is, no, I'm really uncomfortable in doing things that make me uncomfortable. Or no, I really don't want to address that because that brought a lot of dark in my life. Or no, I don't really want to do this because what if it happens again? The fear, right? We have the fear of these up and coming, or these fears of that you're going to hurt again. And again, you can slice a potato so many different ways and get so many different things out of it. But, the opportunity is to lighten your load. Why carry it at our age, right? At our age, our generation, there's no need to continue to carry this weight, right? If you want to feel lighter in life, start opening your bags of potatoes and releasing them one at a time. I know, Michaela, your work is amazing. I know I work with amazing clients, and I have a network of coaches that I work with. And one of the things that we do as life coaches is, it's not about the inspiration for others. It's really holding people accountable for the discipline that it takes to continue to address the potatoes. I don't know why we're using that.
I like this potato thing. I'm going to run with this. Yeah, this is good fun.
I'm going to have a baked potato for lunch.
I think we should celebrate every time we eat a potato, actually. Let's just throw that out there. Stick a candle in the top. Or anyway, I could go down a rabbit hole with that one. But
right.
I think just seeing it for what it is, putting it down and just saying, you know what, I don't have to be connected to this anymore. Because one of the things I like to bring up is, I'm a sciencey type, so the reticular activating system in the brain, which is the thing that gives you more of what you focus on.
Yeah.
So basically, if you focus on all the terrible things and how awful it was and how you felt and you're just doing it again. Why would you keep beating yourself up? That person is not doing it now. We have to assume they're not doing it now anyway. And if they are, we need a conversation about that too. Yeah. But it's really there can be some unique challenges, I think, for people, and how they deal with that is, well, sometimes you need help, right? Sometimes you need a coach that's going to just sort of say, all right, let's try these things and see how they land for you. And, it's that back and forth. A lot of people don't really know what a coach is for, but the coach is the person who can fill in the gaps and can help you find your place instead of what other people have told you it is. And that's so key as a life coach. I mean, you find that all the time, right?
Yeah. I always say I do bridge work. They're like, bridge work? What do you mean? Well, I'm the bridge that takes you from where you are today to where you really want to be, because we always think of our future life. Like, what would that look like? And there's a lot of people that don't know what they want, right? It's that clarity. It's like, okay, because again, what are they doing? They're serving others besides serving themselves first. And again, that bringing it back to the relationship, you have to have that amazing relationship with you before anything else can happen.
And also awareness, because I do find that when you're looking at the other side of the bridge and where do you want to be, where do you want to go, that can be an awareness exercise that takes a while to do when somebody hasn't really thought about it because they didn't think they had any options. That's a whole other thing, right? And sometimes it's like the bar that they aim for is so low that you're like, well, yeah, but that's like stepping into the kiddie pool. Where would you like to go swim? Like what do you want to go do really? This is, you're aiming low, and they don't even know that it's low because they've been looking down so long they don't know how to look up.
And I think that's one of the richest rewards that I get is actually seeing them raise their bar, level themselves up. I always make them paint their picture, right? It's their canvas, it's their forum, whatever they want to use, right? Whether it's acrylics or charcoal or, finger paint, it doesn't matter. They get to paint. No one's telling you there's lines. No one's telling you that you have to use certain colors. Use as bold or as neutral or muted as you want. I mean, it's your thing. And sometimes the picture continues to change as we continue to work because they're leveling themselves up. And,
sometimes
it's beautiful.
Sometimes just coloring outside the lines can be pretty wild, right?
We love that.
I had a client that was actually an exercise, but that is for another day. We have another break. Holy smokes, it's gone so fast. So you are listening to Inspired Choices Network, and this is Navigating Complicated Relationships with your host, Michaela Gaffen Stone. And today I have Nicole Banks, who is running with some awesome stories. She's giving you tips. She's got freebies for you on her website. Like, holy smokes. I hope you've got a pen, paper, computer, whatever. If you can text, you can journal. So stick around and make sure you're taking notes. Don't go away.
What if your relationships could be a source of delight instead of a source of struggle? In a world where human interactions are anything but straightforward, tuning in to Navigating Complicated Relationships with behavior expert Michaela Gaffen Stone will offer you insights, tools, and a whole new level of understanding for you to use right now. Listen for Navigating Complicated Relationships with Michaela Gaffen Stone, Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Mountain, 9 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
How wonderful would it be to carry your favorite Inspired Choices Network host with you throughout your day? Well, now you can. Inspired Choices Network now has its very own mobile app. Our free app offers live streaming shows, along with thousands of podcasts and TV episodes. Our shows cover a wide variety of topics. Whether you're waking up with us, carrying us through the day, and taking us to bed with you, we're always here for you to enjoy. We're easy to find. Just search for Inspired Choices Network in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store.
This is Navigating Complicated Relationships with Michaela Gaffen Stone. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also send an email to mickey@gaffenstone.com. Now back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. Here we are on the Inspired Choices Network, and this is Navigating Complicated Relationships. Today, we're all about the number one mistake that people make in their relationships. And I did ask on a few posts before this show even started, what do you think it might be? I'm very much into communication and people not making assumptions. And I think sometimes we assume things are going to go a certain way, or we assume we know what the other person's thinking. And that's a pretty, you're standing at the top of a very deep slide when you start off that way. But that's what I came up with, but I really want to know what Nicole thinks.
Well, I do believe that the number one mistake people make in relationships is not having the one with themselves. Seriously.
Okay.
I mean, if you and I are in a relationship and I'm not true to myself, then I'm showing a false front, right? And I'm pretending to be happy. I'm pretending to be caring and kind. But inside, I could be hurting and saddened and all the things. And eventually, right? Eventually, my false front, there's going to be cracks in it. And they're going to bleed out. It's going to be so, it's just not, I think that's why we have so many divorces. I think that's why we have so much family turmoil, is we don't accept people for authentically them because they're not showing us authentically them.
I think that is crucial. I mean, if you just imagine how awful you would feel knowing that the person you were in a relationship with was actually pretending to be who you thought they were or how you thought they were. I mean, that's, wow, that does a number on both of you that way. It takes a toll on everyone. And I think also sometimes if you don't have a particularly good role model or, a good background to look at, hello, Gen Xers, everybody there, then it can be difficult to know what you're looking at. And if the person you're in a relationship with or you're entering into a relationship with, if they're hiding bits of them because they're not happy about it, or they think they know what you want, so they're going to give you that, then you doomed. Like it can't work because it's not built on anything. You're reading incorrectly and they're showing incorrectly, and it's just, where are you?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's
How do you
so
help
interesting.
people with that?
Yeah, I think it's so interesting too, because we really show people how to treat us. We teach
Yes.
people how to treat us. So when we look
Boundaries.
at the relationships with ourselves, right? Like, for example, I have a client right now that doesn't trust herself. And I'm like, well, can you elaborate on that? She goes, well, I always start something and I never finish it. So why would I trust anyone else? And I'm thinking, well, applaud you because you are aware of that. You know that that's coming into the relationship, right? That you have trust issues. And how do you build trust when trust has been broken? It's actions and words have to align. They have to align. If I say I'm going to show up Tuesday at 5 o'clock, I better be there Tuesday at 5 o'clock. But it's not just that. The second step to building trust is those actions and alignment have to be consistent. They have to be continued. You can't just show up Tuesday in February and then miss all the other Tuesdays, right? You have to consistently be that. That sets a beautiful foundation for trust. But what's interesting is we have such high expectations of receiving trust from other people, new boyfriends, or spouses or partners or coworkers. But if we don't trust ourselves to stay committed to what we've agreed upon, then why do we have high expectations of trust in someone else? So again, it's all about self. And that's the number one mistake that we make in relationships. Get right with you and watch your window of opportunity for the women out there that are like, oh, I've been divorced. I mean, I'm twice divorced, right? For the women out there that are looking for a partner that brings joy and fun and adventure and romance and, just great chemistry and dialogue and security and all the things, you have to ask yourself, are you bringing those to you first? Because that right person out there is doing exactly what you're doing. And then all of a sudden you have two people that are sulking because they're not being authentic to themselves. And, we've all done it. We've all gone, oh, I love Thai food. Yes, that sounds great. Because you want the date and then you're at Thai food and you have, vomit and diarrhea happening the next 24 hours because you're allergic to Thai food, right? But we said, yes, we love Thai food because that's what they want. We think they want to hear. So the idea, again, be self-aware of what you want and who you are authentically. And I guarantee you, when you start changing the narrative in your mindset, right? If you really start hanging around positive people, the conversations are completely different.
They really are. And I think with the mindset identity, like who do you identify as? Because if somebody identifies as a runner, for example, then it doesn't matter if it's rain or shine, they're going to get up and go running because that's what runners do. If they identify as somebody that doesn't like running but wants to run for exercise, then first sign of gray clouds and they're not going to go out at all. So that authenticity, the clarity on who you are and how you show up is also, I think, part of the trust building in knowing that you can trust yourself because this is what I do.
Yeah.
And, there's so much work to do in this area. Hanging out with positive people, absolutely. I mean, if your environment are feeding you a whole lot of negative, let's look at everything that's miserable, then that's what you're going to see, because that reticular activating system is just going to go all in and say, oh, you want miserable? I'll show you miserable. Yeah. And you'll get all the things for that.
Absolutely.
Whether you really wanted them or not.
Yeah. And I find that, someone's asked me before, it's like, well, how do I change this narrative life that I live? How do I change the narrative of negativity? I'm like, the first thing I would recommend is, again, awareness, right? What are you looking at? Who are you hanging around? I recently did an episode on toxic people and what that looks like. If you have to ask yourself this question, when I am with Mr. So-and-so, how do I feel around that person? How do I feel around him? Am I walking on eggshells? Am I nervous that he's gonna, not ask me out again? Am I someone uncomfortable in my own skin around him or them? It doesn't matter. It can be a guy, it could be a woman, it could be anybody, right? If they make you uncomfortable, you're gonna want to reevaluate that relationship. If you are excited to see them, they're excited to see you. You can laugh at each other. You can laugh at yourself. You are authentic, right? Thank you so much for your patience. I got caught in traffic, right? Those are the things that they're going to be accept. And they're going, no worries. I actually was caught in traffic on my other end too, right? They're listening and being appreciative that you showed up. Doesn't matter. As long as you're safe, we're good. Let's have a good time now. Instead of, where were you? You made me wait for 10 minutes. I mean, realistically speaking, you yourself are showing him how to treat you. So if you don't use your voice, we all have a voice. There's so many people that say, oh, I just needed to find my voice. No, you just sometimes need to use it. We all have a voice. I just encourage you to use it, right?
Right. And I think sometimes that's exactly what you just said. I have to find my voice, or I don't have a voice. That kind of approach is a procrastination. It's like it's an excuse to not step up and take that brave action, because if you've already almost kept yourself small, or you're used to dysfunctional relationships, again, hi Gen Xers, but if you're used to dysfunctional relationships, then it's scary to step out of that and try something you don't know. Human beings are scared of the unknown. That's what we do.
And I drive that point home, because realistically, again, remember, we just talked about that. When you're working with someone and they come to you vulnerable and broken and unassured, and they just don't have the confidence, right? My clients are confidence builders. I build them up where they rock their world, right? They literally are just going, this is a whole new life for me. But they level up their life in using imagination that they've never experienced before. They've never experienced this before. It's like, wow, I didn't realize someone can actually be nice to me or use manners, or they actually paid for the date. They bought the dinner. I'm like, wait, what? You know what I mean? And they actually took me to a sit down with menus instead of reading a reader board. It's like, wait, you were going on fast food dates? Like, how does this work, right? So the idea behind it, though, is understanding that if you've never experienced it, they don't know.
Right.
They don't know. It's like, I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness, and I never experienced the holidays. So I never knew that December 25th was Christmas and I opened up presents. I always come back school break with a new sweater or something, and I just kind of fit in. But never ever did I discuss that I didn't open Christmas presents on Christmas Day because I was a Jehovah's Witness. I never knew what that was bringing or about, right? And so healing from all of those wounds, but you just never know. You don't know until you know. And overcoming the fear and the uncertainty is a beautiful opportunity. If you want to level up your life, I'm telling you, grab on to a life coach and run with them.
Right? You behold your life rafts right here.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Never referred to myself as a life raft before, but okay, we'll just put that out there. Why not? I think the potatoes kind of sent my mind spinning on some interesting directions there. I am very visual, so
Yeah, because again, I'm going to throw that out there, because I think the potatoes are just so heavy. You know what I mean? And if you're really walking around 20 pounds on each shoulder, not just on your back, but on each shoulder. And if you look at how many potatoes, I mean, there's so many things that we can go through and do that. But I love the potato analogy.
Oh, I'm having fun with it too. And I also really like if you can text, you can journal. I am
Yeah.
so going to use that. I give you a heads
Yeah.
up right now.
Yeah.
We have another break. Holy
Okay.
smokes. So this is your opportunity not to go away. Grab another pen because you might have run out of one, or keep texting, whatever you got to do. And stay tuned to Navigating Complicated Relationships with me, your host, Michaela Gaffen Stone, and Nicole Banks, life coach and midlife thrive maven. Do not go away. We'll be back.
What if your relationships could be a source of delight instead of a source of struggle? In a world where human interactions are anything but straightforward, tuning in to Navigating Complicated Relationships with behavior expert Michaela Gaffen Stone will offer you insights, tools, and a whole new level of understanding for you to use right now. Listen for Navigating Complicated Relationships with Michaela Gaffen Stone, Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Mountain, 9 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. This is Navigating Complicated Relationships with Michaela Gaffen Stone. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also send an email to mickey@gaffenstone.com. Now back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, Michaela Gaffen Stone, and I do love to get emails from people. If you have questions, comments, feedback on the podcast, feedback on the topics, any of those things, then do email me at mickey@gaffenstone.com. That's Mickey with 2 Ks and an I. And I'm not the mouse. and you'll find me very responsive. I love to answer. And Nicole, can people get you by email, or do you prefer social media? What's your preference?
Yeah, they can email me as well. And it's simply Nicole Banks, NCO@gmail.com. Nicole Banks, NCO@gmail.com. More than happy to address any questions, comments, and or concerns. Don't forget, I do spell my name with an H.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm looking for some more tips, because I know people tune into the podcast looking for tips and ideas, things they can try. So what would you say would be your top? Well, you've already given us a bunch of tips. What are your next 3 tips? How about that?
Okay, here we go. So the next one I really feel is so important, and anybody can do it. So I have adult ADHD. So my attention span is very limited. So one of the things that I do every single morning is personal development. Now, before you roll your eyes, I want to express what personal development is.
I love personal development. Let me just say, I am all about personal development. So you go for it.
So personal development in my genre or my book or my theory is simply this: anything that improves you. What does that mean? That can mean 10 minutes of, bringing in something that inspires you, motivates you. So for myself, I enjoy listening to podcasts. Of course, you guys can listen to mine, NicoleBanks.com, the Nicole Banks podcast. I went to my website and I met my podcast. But one of the things I do is I set my alarm. I set my smartphone 10 minutes. I'll either listen to a podcast or open up a self-development book. But some people go, oh, I don't really want to do all that. The naysayers, right? All you have to do is start with something that you enjoy. So I have a client right now that literally is learning the guitar using free YouTube videos. It gives them an opportunity to just slow down, develop a mindset of learning, being able to accept learning, right? Being able to bring in something that they've wanted to do, and actually starts building their confidence. They're learning songs. They're actually using their voice and starting to sing now.
So I just want to jump in on this tip and point out, I mean, you said it, but I want to underline that what you're saying is anything that helps you to move forward, to grow in some way. But here's the key: it can be fun, right?
Absolutely.
Like, you can choose something that is fun. It's not the case of you got to sit cross-legged and do for 10 minutes. Like,
that's right.
I've studied meditation in Asia, and
wow,
that's not what it's about. That's not how it works. So if you think, if you're listening to this show and you're thinking, well, that's so boring to do this personal development, I don't need to find myself, I know who I am and all that stuff. Okay, cool. But listen to what Nicole just said about learning guitar first thing in the morning. I mean, what?
Yeah.
How cool is that? You're having fun and it helps you focus and it
Yeah.
starts your day off right. So I just
Yep.
wanted to really underline that because I think that's so key. It can be
Yeah.
fun.
And it really can be anything. Again, the idea behind personal development is consistency. So finding, knocking out the time, putting it in your planner, making that make sense, right? So personal development. I have clients that have learned belly dancing, learning how to decorate cakes. I have clients that are just bringing in any kind of growth mindset. It really is an opportunity to them to look back and go, wow, you want a birthday cake? You got it. I got you, right? I mean, my client right now is doing a dinosaur for a 4-year-old for Christmas.
Oh, I love that.
He was born on Christmas as well, but that's
I love
he
that.
wants a dinosaur cake. So it's super cute. But the next step, I feel like, is to really just have an opportunity to just slow your roll and plan. Plan your week. We run around constantly, right? We are like on a speed track. It just constantly is going. But if we do not plan our personal growth, right? Our personal development, our workouts, our journaling, whatever it is, then it doesn't get done. So it's not
That's
just
true.
planning it, but actually working your plan. So if you feel like you're lost, stop and do a brain dump. So every night, whether it's a mental brain dump, a physical brain dump, a voice brain dump, again, if you can text, you can brain dump and just drop all the things that are racing through your mind and put it down. And then I look and glance at it and circle the 3 priorities. What are the top 3 priorities of this brain dump? Okay. Then with that, then I throw it and implement it into my planner. I just feel like, again, there's times where if we're not taking care of ourselves, because we have all these other things on our planner, right? Then it's only a hindrance to us. The other thing you have to remember, and I'm just going to show this really, really quick. Here it comes, right?
Okay, because we're running out of time, which is why I just kind of went, oh, I saw the time.
Okay.
But
Really,
holy smokes.
really, really quick, is that you matter. You count. You're worth it. All the things that you need to say, but make it an appointment like you're being charged. Make your self-appointment, your self-development appointment like you're being charged. You wouldn't miss your appointment if you were being charged $500.
You could start saving some money that way. There's some potential there for that.
Absolutely.
I have to jump in and just say, next week's episode, I got a couple of things to put out here. Next week's episode is Leadership by Design. And I'm looking at human design and how your leadership shows up within human design. This is a new offering that I do too in coaching, is for the individual, their personal leadership design. And I am having so much fun with this thing. I should have started it ages ago, but I've got it running now. So that's really cool. And you brought up something that if people are still listening right at the end of the show, then you're about to learn something about me that you probably don't know. I used to do belly dancing and I did a public performance and I had a rare old time with it. And the thing with belly dancing is you cannot be miserable and belly dance. You cannot worry and belly dance. They are incompatible. You can't move your body that way if your mind is in a negative space. So if you haven't tried belly dancing and you'd like to, I don't care what size, shape, age, or anything else you are, or gender for that matter, get out there and try some belly dancing. It is really good fun.
And
so
YouTube
Nicole,
has free videos.
We have like this much time. What would your final tip be, or what would you like to leave the listeners with?
I truly feel that all the listeners need to know, do not feel guilty for putting yourself first. This is guiltless. This is guilt-free. You deserve the life that you have always dreamed of. You are so worth the life that you've dreamed of. Stop dreaming. Let's start living it. Dare to begin.
Absolutely. And tell them once more where they can get you before we run out of time.
Okay. NicoleBanks.com. The Nicole Banks podcast. And of course, social media is Miss Nicole Banks. And I spell my name with an H.
Absolutely. And don't forget to go to the website because there are some goodies there. I will see everybody
Thank you for
next
listening
week.
to the
Thank you for
Navigating
tuning in.
Complicated Relationship Show. Michaela returns Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Mountain, 9 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. Until then, remember every relationship is a journey, and with the right tools, you can create stronger, more fulfilling connections.